Hello, and welcome to Buffy and the Art of Story. If you love the Buffyverse and you love creating stories or just taking them apart to see how they work, you're at the right podcast. Today, I am doing an overview of Angel Season 1, having just finished the finale to Shanshu in LA. I am Lisa M. Lilly, author of the Awakening Supernatural thriller series, the QC Davis Mysteries, and the Writing as a Second Career books for writers. You can find all of those and back episodes of Buffy and the Art of Story, including those that cover Buffy the Vampire Slayer, at lisalilly.com. That's LISALILLY.com. As part of that overview of Season 1, I will look at the season's plot turns, the emotional moments and character growth for Angel, Cordelia, Doyle, Wesley, and Kate, how this first season builds the world of Angel, and my rating of the season on a scale of 0 to 10. As always, there'll be no spoilers for Angel the series, but I may talk about the whole of Buffy the Vampire Slayer from time to time, so if you have not watched that whole series, proceed with caution. Okay, let's dive into the Hellmouth, or maybe just Los Angeles. When I was covering Buffy, I do not think I did a breakdown of the Season 1 plot points and turns. Looking back at it now, that 12-episode arc had a very strong start and an extremely strong midpoint. If you remember, that was the episode Angel, where Buffy finds out that Angel is a vampire. And, of course, the climax with Prophecy Girl. There weren't any key turns that I noted at the 1/4 or 3/4 points of the season, which is where else in a novel or a screenplay we might see significant turns. But that makes sense because it was only 12 episodes. In contrast, Angel, with 22 episodes, doesn't have a terribly strong midpoint, as I'll talk about, though it does have very strong emotional episodes that do turn the entire season story. They just don't appear where we might expect them if this Season 1 is meant to be a complete arc. Like Buffy Season 1, though, it has a very strong start and a very strong ending. It begins with an opening conflict that is key to the entire season, which is not always the case. For a novel or a screenplay, we might start with a more minor conflict, but here, Angel is trying to save someone, and he almost feeds on the person that he saves. This is, as Doyle, a new character to the Buffyverse, tells him, because Angel is so disconnected from the humans he is trying to help. Angel is struggling with having drunk Buffy's blood. This has created a craving in him that is harder than normal for him to deal with. Doyle not only tells him this, he introduces Angel to the idea of the powers that be that have a mission for Angel, a purpose for him. And Doyle really pushes Angel to reach out to others and become part of the world. So this is all happening very quickly in the beginning of Season 1. And it sets up what is essentially the conflict for the entire season, though there are many others. I see the story spark or inciting incident for the season as Angel confronting Russell, that vampire we saw in the first episode, who is this businessman who preys upon mostly young women. Angel prevails by killing Russell, but he is not able to save Tina. That was his first mission from the powers that be, and he fails. That particular moment, not prevailing over Russell, so I take that back. That happens at the end of toward the end of the episode, but not saving Tina. I think is what sets Angel on his journey. Now, it could have sent him a different way, back into disconnection, back into further spiraling, but instead he is determined to stop Russell at that point, and as a result, he ends up saving Cordelia from Russell. And by the end of that first episode, City of, forming Angel Investigations with Cordelia and Doyle. I don't recall if they call it Angel Investigations then, but they are going to be working together. So that is what sets off the storyline for the season. This is not just a show about Angel, it is an ensemble show about Angel Investigations. As you know, particularly if you listen to all the Buffy episodes that I covered, I typically look at around the 1/4 point in a story for a first major plot turn. Typically that comes from outside the protagonist and spins the story in a new direction and raises the stakes. There are some really good episodes somewhere around what would be the 1/4 turn of the season, but nothing that to me has that type of major turn in the direction of the season. So with 22 episodes, a quarter way through would be somewhere around episode 5, 6, or 7. 5 is Room with a View. That is the one where Cordelia gets her apartment, and there is a key development there because Angel, more than ever before, sees Cordelia as family and shows that he is there for her, as is Doyle. But it doesn't really spin the season particularly. 6 is Sense and Sensibility. That is the one with the cops and the sensitivity training. So we deepen Angel's relationship to Kate somewhat. We have some fun times with Angel being sensitive. He expresses more of his feelings, but again, not a huge shift. And then there is Bachelor Party, which is episode 7 with Doyle, a key episode for Cordelia and Doyle. Cordelia begins to see another side to him. Not a big turn for the season. Now, episodes 8 and 9 are extremely significant. They are too late to be considered that 1/4 turn and too early for the midpoint, but certainly have elements that significantly change the trajectory of the season. I Will Remember You is the episode with Buffy, and while it doesn't change the plot of the season in a huge way, it does change things for Angel because he becomes human and then he takes it back so that he can continue his mission, and he has that terrible loss of that human life he could have had with Buffy. Heartbreaking. It informs how Angel feels and his struggles to stay connected to people as we go forward through the season. So if I had to pick what feels like what we normally see at the midpoint, a major commitment by the protagonist and or a major reversal or both, that is what this episode is. He makes first the commitment to be with Buffy. He doesn't exactly choose that because he turns human by happenstance, but he is diving in. He's all in with it. Then he has a reversal, discovering that this could put not just Buffy, but the entire world in danger. Another major commitment to his mission, more significant for the show, by turning back the clock, letting go, giving up that future with Buffy, which is, of course, a major reversal. So were this in the middle of the season, it would be a very strong midpoint. However, it is quite a bit early because our midpoint would be right around episode 11. Then after I Will Remember You, we have Hero, where Doyle sacrifices himself to save the demons that the Scourge is coming after, and to save everyone, really, because the Scourge is trying to burn out humanity from all demons, and people would die as well. This is a key episode, changing everything going forward. Doyle is gone. It opens the way for Wesley to come in, and it leaves Angel with survivor's guilt. I don't know that I would call this a midpoint, although you could definitely see it as a midpoint reversal. Angel personally feels like he should have been the one to sacrifice himself, or that he should have found a way to save Doyle. This is followed up in episode 10, Parting Gifts, where Wesley is introduced, and we have Cordelia and Angel going through their grief and dealing with the loss of Doyle. Those are both early to be a midpoint, but what we get at the midpoint are 3 episodes that feel much more like one-offs. Somnambulist, where Angel is having those visions or dreams where he's killing people, and it's because he's connected to a vampire that he sired long ago, who saw Angel as a mentor. This is a significant episode in the way that it explores Angel's psyche. Kate finds out that Angel is a vampire, so there is a sort of reversal there. Angel is exposed. I don't see it as quite the major reversal that I Will Remember You is or Hero is, but it is significant, so it's not a bad choice for the middle of the season. And Angel has to grapple with both the results of his mentoring and siring. The villain, I keep just wanting to say Jeremy Renner because that's the actor. I don't remember the character's name. But Angel also has to grapple with that it feels good in those visions or those dreams to be killing. After that, there is Expecting, where Cordelia is pregnant, and there is a little bit more of the family connection between him and Cordelia, and then She, which is a one-off about Jira from Odentah. Moving on to, do we have a third major plot turn, the 3/4 turn, which should usually grow from the midpoint and spin the story again and raise the stakes? I don't see one directly here. 3/4 of the way through the season would be around episodes 15 through 17. 15 is the prodigal. This is where Kate's father is involved in some shady dealings and vampires kill him. Again, maybe something of a turn with Angel and Kate. I mean, definitely a turn because she is, again, really hostile to him after this. I don't know that that makes a huge difference to the trajectory of the season. Then there is The Ring, where Angel is part of this gladiator type fighting between demons to the death, and part of makes it sound like he helped create it. He is captured and forced to fight. It's a good episode for doubling down on the themes of the season and the show. This idea of freeing all those demons at the end, and how, yes, it's a win, and yet a lot of them probably are evil. So we're showing the gray areas very clearly there, and showing Angel's mission, which is to help people redeem themselves, even these demons. And we see Cordelia and Wesley finally working together well there. After that is Eternity, a one-off with, I think it's Regan. I should have looked this up. The actress who wants to become a vampire. So not a lot there in terms of changing the season arc. Well past that 3/4 turn, we have the 2 Faith episodes, 5x5 and Sanctuary, which are so striking and very important to the themes of Angel, but well beyond where we would see a 3/4 turn. And I don't know that these change the season arc. They are strong character episodes for Wesley, and definitely for Faith, and for Angel to some extent, in redefining, or maybe defining for the first time, what his mission is. It's the first time for himself. He defines it as saving souls. and a break with Buffy that is all the more heartbreaking because of I Will Remember You. But it is not happening where we might expect to see something like that about 3/4 through. Then the climax is episode 22 to Shanshu in LA, after a couple one-offs that do nonetheless build towards Shanshu. And in this episode, Angel has a mixed victory. He prevails over Wolfram and Hart in the most important thing to him, which is saving his friends. He gets his hands on a prophecy about himself, but he does not stop the raising, which brings Darla into the world. The falling action in Shanshu and for the season is the scene with Angel, Cordelia, and Wesley in Cordelia's apartment, where they are so much closer and more bonded, and Angel finds out he may have a chance to become human again. And then we get that game changer where we find out Darla has been brought into this world, setting up, along with a lot of other things that happened, what the new world of Angel will look like in season 2. When I'm saying these major changes don't take place at those 1/4, halfway point, 3/4 point, that's not to say that they don't work. I suspect it is part of why I don't love Angel the series quite as much as Buffy. As we go on today, I can see more and more why, if you watched Angel first, going to the first season of Buffy might make you wonder, why do people love that show so much more? Because season 1 of Buffy is definitely finding its feet. And while it has some really strong episodes, there's a good argument that Angel, if we look at the best episodes, has more depth, more characterization, is more complex than Buffy season 1, for sure. But getting back to where I started, I suspect the reason it didn't hit me quite the same way is, as you know, I love a well-structured story. And Buffy season 1, while it has a number of one-offs that are kind of just fun and setting up the world, it does have that strong start, strong finish, and that very strong midpoint that comes right there in the middle of the season, where here it is more uneven. And to me, I didn't rate on a 0 to 10 scale the Buffy episodes, but I enjoy rewatching every one of them. And in contrast, season 1 of Angel, there are quite a few that very little about them makes me want to go back and rewatch them. Now, there are amazing ones too, but for me, with my love of structure, it takes a little more to get as engaged with Angel season 1. But there is so much more to this season than I realized before I started breaking it down for the podcast. And I did like watching it the first time through. I was very intrigued by the themes, the characters, the tone. It just never became a rewatch show for me the way Buffy is. If you would like to hear more Buffy in the Art of Story content, including about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there are over 65 bonus episodes on Patreon. You can join for a few dollars a month and get access to all those bonuses, plus access to every regular episode ad-free and a few days early. Some of the more popular bonus episodes are Whether Anya is Right about why Xander proposed, the 10 most compelling character arcs in Buffy, moment-by-moment commentary on the unaired pilot for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the bestest Buffy birthday bashes, and Mission's boyfriend, Angel, Riley, and the Warrior Identity. You can get all of that by signing up at patreon.com/Lisa M. Lilly. That's patreon.com/LISA, M as in Marie, LILLY. If you are a writer or are thinking about writing a novel or screenplay and want to join at the storyteller level, you will also get access to all the videos in my online self-study course, How to Plot Your Novel from Idea to First Draft. I am sure I'm going to miss some, but the themes that jumped out to me looking back on season 1 include the dangers of disconnecting, and not just disconnecting from people, disconnecting from yourself and from your emotions. This is a series about a broody vampire who is not terribly expressive about his emotions, and yet it is truly exploring why it is so important to have a rich emotional life, to have those connections with others. And a related theme, which is also in Buffy, is found family. Difficulties with your family of origin, which all our main characters we end with have, Wesley, Cordelia, and Angel, remedied or addressed by finding and choosing your own family, often based on mutual values and goals. Angel, season 1, also explores the nature of evil, and recent episodes posit something really interesting, the idea that things are clearer on the side of evil. This is something Angel tells us he misses, the clarity, because you don't have to care. You don't have to connect. You don't have to think about the effect of your actions on others. You just do what you want or need to do to achieve your goal. Where on Angel, doing the right thing, taking right actions, or being a good person is far more complicated. There are a lot more gray areas. And related to that is the idea of human evil. Buffy primarily dealt with demons, vampires, the forces of darkness. Sometimes there were humans involved as well. I'm thinking of Ethan Rayne, Professor Walsh, the Geek Trio, and even in season 1, Amy's mother, who was a witch, but she was a witch. The Geek Trio were doing spells and magic. Angel explores a more mundane type of human evil. Wolfram and Hart does do some rituals. They represent demons and vampires, but an awful lot of what they do is human evil. It is hiring assassins and setting up schemes. I hesitate to call their defense of demons and vampires evil because as a lawyer, it always bothers me when people ask, how can you defend a criminal or murderer? In the U.S., you have to be proven guilty, and that is the government's job to prove someone guilty, and no one is considered guilty before they are convicted. It is the bedrock of our Constitution and our entire form of government that just because the police arrest you doesn't make you guilty, and you are entitled to a lawyer to defend you. And to me, that is one of the most important things a lawyer can do, is make sure that someone is convicted only if the government has really done their job to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So I don't critique Wolfram and Hart for defending humans who are accused of evil things. And maybe I wouldn't even if it was demons who are subject to the judicial system, apparently, in LA, demons, vampires. But it's that they participate in the evil schemes. They are hiring in Blind Date the blind assassin to kill these children. So they are not just acting as lawyers, they are furthering their clients' interests and aims that are illegal and wrong. But the nature of how they do that is more within, as the oracles say, the laws of men. So it isn't like Ethan Rayne off in a crypt doing a ritual. A lot of what they do is right out in the open, procuring girls for Russell, for instance, in the first episode. Another theme is whether people can change. Can they get better? Can they be redeemed? Can they atone? Season 1 suggests that yes, some people can. We see a lot of character growth. For our key characters, we see Lindsey McDonald contemplate change, kind of flirt with change, go a certain way down the road, and take a turn. But the season suggests that at least some people can change, though it might not be easy, and it might take extreme circumstances to cause the change. And then there is the role of destiny, fate, or prophecy, which we see particularly in Tishanshu in LA. We are left with a prophecy that we don't know whether it will play out, that Angel will become human, but the prophecy that all his ties to the powers that be will be severed is also written in that scroll. And it makes Lindsey think that he is going to win. He's going to set fire to the scroll and destroy it. And Angel says, don't believe everything you are foretold. I don't think I mentioned this in the Shanshu episode. Season 1 of Angel ends with this prophecy that Angel subverts. He gets his connections back. He is closer than ever to his friends. And Buffy, season 1, ends with Prophecy Girl, where Buffy does in fact die, much as Angel does see all his ties severed, and yet she comes back. She is brought back to life by her friend, Xander, and she is stronger than ever. So that is a similar theme in the two series. It will be interesting to see how this plays out for Angel, the prophecy about becoming human. Moving on to character arcs, there are much stronger character arcs in Angel season 1 than Buffy season 1. Buffy essentially goes through a more significant version of her arc of rejecting her destiny and then accepting it and prevailing in the final episode, as she does in the first 2 episodes. So does Buffy grow? She does to some extent. She embraces her destiny at the end, despite that she believes that she will die, and she does in fact die. So her commitment is even stronger at the end, and it is a much more heart-wrenching journey because it is foretold that she will die, and that's when she says she quits. But she rejoins the fight for the same reason. In the double episode beginning of this season, it is to protect Willow. She sees that Willow is in danger, and she is right there to fight the vampires and then to go in and try to save Jesse. And at the end, it is partly her conversation with Willow, where Willow says, it's not our world anymore. It's theirs, of the vampires who slaughter students at the high school. And this is part of what prompts Buffy to go face the master, even though it's foretold that she'll die. So while Buffy matures throughout the season, she becomes more focused on being a slayer and a little bit less focused on trying to have a normal life. She grows closer to her friends and to Giles. It isn't a major character change in season 1. And the other characters, we're pretty much just establishing. Willow, Xander, Cordelia. Cordelia gets a little bit more layered, and Giles becomes a bit more active. He's going to go face the master. He doesn't do it, but he's willing to. And he becomes a little more open-minded. He was very by the book when he met Buffy. He is more flexible by the end, but not major changes. Now, there were only 12 episodes there. In contrast, in Angel, we have major character arcs. Angel, who begins wholly disconnected, ends being very close with Wesley and Cordelia. And this is especially striking because throughout the season, almost every time he becomes close to someone, he ends up being devastated. In the pilot, Doyle is urging him to care, to connect, to accept this mission from the powers that be, and Angel can't save Tina. Russell kills her. Angel races in too late. He becomes human. He has that day with Buffy, that chance at a normal life. Everything he's wanted. He's so happy. Even food tastes amazing. And then he is devastated because he feels he has to give that up to fulfill his mission. Then he loses Doyle, the one person that he told about what happened with Buffy. And Doyle sacrifices himself. Even Kate, Angel initially encounters some hostility from her. She thinks he's the killer in Lonely Hearts, but they do develop a respect for one another. There's a little flirtation going. They help each other out. And they are becoming friends, maybe even a potential for romance, which we mostly see through Kate's awkward jokes, but there is some chemistry. And then, through no fault of Angel's, vampires kill her father. And she associates him with that. She blames him. She is hostile toward him. So there, too, he tries to have a connection, and it fails. It's not as devastating as the loss of Doyle or what happened with Buffy. But you could almost not blame Angel if he gave up trying to connect. Now, his connection with Wesley is stronger. Angel's able to encourage Wesley, to help Wesley grow, but it takes a while for him to let Wesley in. He does not want to lose someone else. He's very clear about that. He doesn't want to take Wesley with him on anything. The one person he mostly stays connected to and gradually grows closer to is Cordelia. And we see that throughout the season as he gradually talks about her as family. He vets her dates when he's trying to hunt down those demons. In Expecting, he tells, I think, the bartender that Cordelia is his family. And this is so clear in Shanshu, where both Wesley and Cordelia are family to him. He connects with Gunn as well. I think this is part of why we get that entire Gunn episode. I mentioned in Shanshu that part of it is likely so that plot-wise, Angel has someone to turn to that Wolfram and Hart does not know about, and that is not a connection to the powers that be as Cordelia is. And maybe Wesley is in an adjacent way. He was on the Watchers Council. Gunn is a complete unknown to Wolfram and Hart. I now think as well that it is to show that Angel can connect with a human. And it helps that Gunn is really strong in his own right. Gunn has been fighting vampires on his own. Well, not on his own, but with his group, totally separate from Angel. I feel like this is reassuring to Angel. He doesn't feel like he is drawing Gunn into more danger than Gunn is already in, which is something that concerned him about Wesley. Even though Wesley was being a rogue demon hunter, it's possible he would have found something else to do if he could not have worked with Angel. Angel felt the weight of putting Wesley in danger, and he doesn't feel that with Gunn because this is Gunn's mission too. Gunn chose it a long time ago, separate from Angel. Throughout the season, there is a lot of going forward and 10 steps back. Angel does become extremely disconnected at times, but he grows, he changes, and at the end, he embraces his found family. Cordelia has an arc as well. Professionally, she starts out, she's pursuing acting, but really struggling, so discouraged. She puts up a great front, but it is very hard. She's barely paying her bills. And then she crosses paths with Angel. And in the beginning, it really seems like there's a mission there, but it is a way to make some money for Cordelia and to have some connection with people. She is lonely as well, and this helps her, but it is not until the end of the season that she is truly all in on the mission because it's about helping people. I believe Cordelia cared about that all along, but it was not in the forefront for her the way it is at the end of the episode. Some of this occurs because of the terrible things that happened to Cordelia and the fact that Angel and Doyle and then Angel and Wesley are there for her and help her through. Some of it is her wanting to help Angel, becoming closer to him and caring about him, and even connecting with Wesley, which at first is tough. They have a lot of friction, but they learn to work with one another and respect one another and eventually see one another as family. Cordelia, the character who of the good guys on Buffy, probably expressed the least empathy for anyone and was the most focused on how things affect her, has now become someone who cares deeply and literally felt the pain of others. Doyle, too, had a major arc, though he was only there for 9 episodes. He began as this guy doing shady dealings, owing money all over the place, very sketchy about his past and himself, and feeling like no one would really want to be in his life or be his friend, and having, as we found out, let down people of his own demon clan. He has carried this guilt. He works through that largely in that last episode, Hero, which is when we find out about a lot of it. And he sacrifices himself. It is atonement for him. It is redemption. And most of all, it is doing the right thing. And there are other moments of growth as he helps Angel. He starts out wanting to say, I'm just the messenger. Oh, okay, I'll drive the car, but he's not going to dive in the fight. And eventually he does, and he likes Cordelia. He tries to connect with her, and he tries to further the relationship between her and Angel because it is good for Angel. He resolves his feelings about his wife, and they part amicably. As part of that process, he has to come to terms with his feelings about himself and about the demon side of him, but also the human side and what he thinks his failings are. Wesley, too, has a strong arc. He begins struggling so much. He has been tracking this demon, but he isn't terribly helpful in the beginning to Cordelia and Angel. He struggles to use his weapons. There's a lot of pratfalls. He makes mistakes. And he is more or less desperate for work and for a job. He has no way to support himself. He's very insecure. We see it particularly when that demon possesses the child, and it is taunting Wesley both about his father and how he never could measure up, and trying to destroy his relationship with Angel. For much of the season after he appears, Wesley feels so much like he is in a one-down position. He doesn't feel worthy of working with Angel. He's jealous of Cordelia's role, and he doesn't feel skilled or competent. Angel is so great about encouraging Wesley once he comes to terms with being willing to take the risk of losing Wesley. He doesn't want to lose Wesley, but he has to get past that fear. But he does encourage Wesley, and Wesley gradually gains competence, partly from taking action and finding ways to help, even if he struggles, partly because of his loyalty to Angel. There is a major turn in Sanctuary when he will not help the council harm Angel, and his loyalty to Angel and his need to stand up for Angel gives him more courage, and he becomes stronger. The disagreement between him and Angel over Faith probably helps, because for all his loyalty to Angel, he is so angry about Faith that he pushes back. Before that, Cordelia often makes fun of him for just doing anything Angel says and literally falling all over himself to do things for Angel. There was that one episode where the coffee beans, Angel breaks a bag of coffee beans and Wesley is apologizing for it and he's going to pick them all up. And Cordelia says something about him making groveling an art form. But when it comes to Faith, he first pushes back when Angel is seeing her as evil, and then they kind of flip positions and he pushes back again. I think that is really important for Wesley. Ultimately, he gets on board with Angel wanting to redeem Faith because of his loyalty to Angel, but for once, he is not afraid to voice his disagreement very strongly, almost harshly. That's a real moment of growth for Wesley, and in the end, he is a true part of the team. He's valuable, and he has an important role. We see him poring over those scrolls and the books, and even though he makes another mistake with Shanshu, it's not the old Wesley. He apologizes. He says, oh, he made a little mistake, but he doesn't lose his mind over it. And he explains this is very complicated. And he did tell them that from the start, that interpreting prophecies is tricky. And then he figures it out. One of the things Buffy does best is show that power always comes with consequences. That idea is at the heart of my Awakening Supernatural thriller series. These books follow characters who discover the world is far more dangerous and stranger than they ever imagined. Stepping into that supernatural reality means risking safety, certainty, and sometimes the people they love most. This is a 4-book series that blends thriller, pacing, with mythic themes, moral dilemmas, and emotional fallout. There are no easy wins here, just hard choices and the ripple effects that follow. If you enjoy supernatural fiction that asks the same questions Buffy asks, what does it really cost to fight evil? You'll feel right at home. The Awakening series is available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook. You can also grab the complete ebook box set if you'd rather read it all in one go. Look for The Awakening by Lisa M. Lilly wherever you buy books, or follow the link in the show notes. Finally, Kate, not my favorite character. She has an arc. Of everyone, hers makes the least sense. In the beginning, it works for me. She's tough. She's somewhat vulnerable. When she's playing that part at the bar undercover as someone looking for love in a bar, but you get the feeling some of that vulnerability is real. She grapples with Angel being a vampire and comes to terms with it. But once her father is killed, it seems like Kate just cannot get past it. If we saw a little more of her, I might buy it because grief affects everyone differently. And for Kate, perhaps this is just where grief has taken her. All that anger she feels, all that loss, anger at her father, who never really connected with her, is all going toward Angel. But because we don't see that much into her interior feelings, it just feels like Kate is being hostile so that we have another point of conflict for Angel. Oh, and I forgot Lindsey. Lindsey, very intriguing character. Might not like the way he grows, but he does. He is willing to go up against Wolfram and Hart. He thinks it's to get away, but ultimately he discovers that what Holland told him and Angel told him, that he needed to find his place in the world to make a choice, is what he needed. The choice he makes is not the one that the audience hoped for, but he makes it and he has grown. He is not in his job because he can't go anywhere else, because he doesn't know what else to do, or because he is that poor kid who is still trying to show that he's as good as everyone else. He is making an active choice. We might disagree with his reasoning, but he has gone through a journey. Really great world building in Angel Season 1. The very first episode does so much. It brings Angel and Cordelia together. Before that, Doyle tells Angel about the powers that be, a concept that was not in Buffy. The forces of good in Buffy are much vaguer. There's the council, but until the end, we don't know how the Slayer was created. And then we find out it was partly with demon power. So it is somewhat mixed. That is one of the gray areas in Buffy. There is no entity on high that is sending Buffy on missions. It is the council and Giles and largely Buffy doing what she believes is right to protect humans. In contrast, Episode 1, Angel has a link through Doyle to the powers that be, and they literally send him messages through visions, first to Doyle and then to Cordelia. And there are the oracles as well that we find out about, another link to the powers that be. In Buffy, there was at least once that Giles tried to contact. I don't know if he called it an oracle. I can't remember, but he did try to seek some guidance. But generally, there isn't anywhere for Giles to go either other than the council to get clarity or information. The council and old books. Here we have the old books, we don't have the council, but we have some sort of supernatural force that we're at least assuming is on the side of good, since it mostly seems to be about saving people or saving souls. And in that very first episode, we establish Angel investigations. Cordelia, Doyle, and Angel are going to work together. That first episode sets the tone of the world too, because Angel does not save Tina. Tina dies. There is a bit of a corollary in the first two Buffy episodes where Buffy is not able to save Jesse, and we had thought he might be a main character, but it is much darker in Angel because this was the mission he was sent on, to save Tina, and he does not succeed. This world, as I mentioned, also shows much more of evil as part of everyday life. In Sunnydale, the vampires were mostly separate. They lived in crypts or caves. They stayed out of the way for the most part of humans unless they were trying to feed on them. Further into Buffy in season 3, there was the mayor, who is part of the town and has been the whole season. The whole series, we just don't see him till season 3. The mayor is part of the town's day-to-day life, and there are hints that the police force, to some extent, maybe at least under the mayor's thumb, but we don't get the feeling it is actively evil the way Wolfram and Hart kind of has its tendrils in everything in the Los Angeles legal and business community. Also, regular people seem to be more aware of demons and vampires than is true in Sunnydale. Going back to the deaths of major characters, it's not just that first episode where Tina dies. We also lose Doyle partway through the season, and he is a core character. Unlike Jesse, who we just thought might be, Doyle is there 9 episodes in the credits. He's one of the 3 characters in Angel Investigations, and yet he dies. That too shows us this is a much darker series, as well as being one, like Buffy, where anyone might die. The mythology is expanded in another way with this idea that Angel could become human. We see it in I Will Remember You. Before this, in all of Buffy, there was no hint that a vampire could literally become human. We knew Angel had a soul, but he was still a vampire. And now at the end of the season, again, we have this possibility that Angel will become human for good. Finally, the world building of this season includes a separation from both Buffy the character and the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In Sanctuary, Angel says, "Don't come into my city and expect me to do things your way." He is about saving souls. Buffy is primarily about protecting humans. Angel does protect humans, but he is mainly about saving souls, which could possibly include that of demons. We'll see what happens. And it is a difference between Angel the series and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And of course, as I mentioned in Shanshu, there are a lot of changes at the end where we know the world of Angel in season 2 will be different. And I love that the show does that as well. And it shows a willingness to blow things up. We saw that in the end of season 3 of Buffy, but this is the end of just the first season, and we know things are going to change. The Angel Investigations headquarters is gone. Darla is now in the world, so lots of changes going forward. My rating for season 1 as a whole, this was tough. There are some fantastic episodes here. Sanctuary 5x5, I Will Remember You, To Shanshu in LA. And there are ones that I just really enjoyed that don't quite rise to that level. And then there are quite a few that, I guess I shouldn't say quite a few, but more than a few that I am not excited to rewatch. I definitely found more in them as I watched them for the podcast, but I still look at them and think, wouldn't really want to watch that again. And then there is the unevenness of the plot arc as a whole for the season. I'm very curious if that will be different in the later seasons. Any show is sorting things out in the first season. It's understandable that it wasn't necessarily a plotted season 1 arc in all respects, but that takes away a little bit from my enjoyment of the season as a whole. On the other hand, the character arcs so strong and the themes are very strong and consistent. So with all of that, on a scale of 0 to 10, I will give Angel season 1 a 7. If you think differently, I would love to hear about it and hear why. Maybe you went lower, maybe you went higher. Please feel free to comment on YouTube or Patreon or my author website and let me know, or email me at buffystorypod@gmail.com. That is it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and a special thank you to patrons who support the podcast. I will be taking a between-season break. However, I am hoping to do at least one bonus episode for everyone that will be in this regular podcast feed at some point in between. Stay tuned for that. And if you are a patron, I do plan to continue the once a month bonus episode, possibly with something extra for patrons at the storyteller level and up. So keep an eye on your Patreon feed. If you would like to join us on Patreon and you haven't yet, you can check out what's available at patreon.com/Lisa M. Lilly. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. You can find back episodes of Buffy and the Art of Story, as well as the Buffy and the Art of Story books and all my fiction at lisalilly.com. Music for this episode was written and performed by Robert Newcastle. Buffy and the Art of Story is a production of Spiny Woman, LLC. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved.